In the annals of history, few names resonate with such power and complexity as Julius Caesar. Picture a man who dared to challenge an entire republic, whose very name would become synonymous with power, ambition, and tragedy. More than a mere conqueror, he was a revolutionary force that reshaped the political landscape of Rome in ways that would echo through millennia. In the bustling heart of ancient Rome, around 100 BCE, a child was born who would transcend the ordinary bounds of patrician destiny. From the very streets where the Republic had flourished for centuries, this man would rise to become not just another nobleman, but the architect of an empire's destiny. Caesar emerged as something far beyond the traditional roles of politician or general. He was a force of nature who would challenge every convention of his era. The world he inhabited was one of ruthless political intrigue and bloody battles, where power hung delicately in the balance between competing factions. Through the mists of time, one question continues to captivate historians and enthusiasts alike. Who was Julius Caesar, truly? What drove this extraordinary figure to push beyond the boundaries of tradition and reshape the very foundations of Roman society? His story unfolds against the backdrop of a republic in transition, where old values clashed with new ambitions, and where the established order faced unprecedented challenges. Caesar's rise would coincide with a period of tremendous social upheaval, military expansion, and political transformation. As we delve into his tale, we witness not just the journey of one man, but the evolution of an entire civilization. In the late Roman Republic, power was a delicate dance between the Senate, the people, and the ambitious men who sought to lead them. Caesar would master this dance with unprecedented skill, weaving together military prowess, political acumen, and personal charisma in ways that would forever change the course of Roman history. His story is not merely one of conquest and power, but a testament to how a single individual's vision and determination can alter the destiny of millions. The legacy of Caesar continues to influence our understanding of leadership, power, and political transformation. His life serves as both a warning and an inspiration, a complex tapestry of triumph and tragedy that continues to captivate audiences across the centuries. As we embark on this journey through time, we'll explore how this remarkable figure rose from the ranks of Roman nobility to become one of history's most enduring legends. Through Caesar's story, we'll witness the birth of an era where personal ambition collided with republican values, where military might met political genius, and where the fate of the ancient world hung in the balance. This is not just a tale of one man's rise to power. It's the story of how the Roman Republic transformed into the mightiest empire the ancient world had ever seen. Late Republican Rome was a city that pulsed with raw ambition and relentless energy. Imagine standing in the heart of this magnificent metropolis, where gleaming marble columns stretched toward the Mediterranean sky, and the echoes of thousands of footsteps reverberated through the bustling streets. The Forum, the beating heart of Roman political life, was a grand theater where the drama of power played out daily beneath the scorching Italian sun. In these marble-paved streets, the air was thick with more than just the Mediterranean heat. It carried the mingled scents of burning incense from the temples, the earthy aroma of olive oil from countless lamps, and the unmistakable atmosphere of ambition and intrigue. The rhythmic march of military sandals against stone pavements provided a constant reminder of Rome's martial power, while the animated discussions of senators in their flowing togas spoke of the city's political sophistication. The political landscape of Rome during this period was an intricate maze of alliances, betrayals, and calculated moves. Like an elaborate game of chess, every political decision, every public speech, and every private agreement could tip the delicate balance of power. The Senate House itself was a cauldron of competing interests, where powerful families jockeyed for position and influence. Deals were struck in private villas over cups of wine, while public speeches in the Forum could make or break political careers in mere moments. In this complex arena, ambitious men fought not just with swords but with words and wit. The traditional power structures were being tested as never before, as the old patrician families struggled to maintain their grip on power against the rising influence of wealthy plebeians and successful military commanders. The very air seemed charged with the electricity of impending change, as the Republic's foundations trembled under the weight of its own success and expansion. The streets themselves told the story of Rome's evolution, from the ancient, narrow alleys of the old city to the grand boulevards lined with temples and public buildings. Here, wealthy merchants rubbed shoulders with battle-hardened veterans, while slaves and freedmen navigated the complex social hierarchy that defined Roman society. The scent of exotic spices from distant lands mixed with the smoke from sacrificial altars, creating an intoxicating atmosphere that spoke of Rome's growing power and influence across the known world. It was in this dynamic and volatile environment that Julius Caesar would emerge not merely as another player in the great game of Roman politics, but as its ultimate master strategist. He understood, perhaps better than any of his contemporaries, how to read the complex political board before him and how to move the pieces to his advantage. Every appearance in the Forum, every military campaign, and every political alliance was calculated with the precision of a master chess player, always thinking several moves ahead. The Rome of Caesar's time was a city on the brink of transformation, where the old ways of the Republic were increasingly strained by the realities of empire. The traditional values of republican virtue and collective governance were being challenged by the practical needs of administering a vast territory and the personal ambitions of powerful individuals. The very air seemed to crackle with the tension between tradition and change, between the Republic's past and its uncertain future. In this crucible of power and ambition, Caesar would prove himself not just an able politician or successful general, but a transformative figure who understood how to harness the forces of change that were reshaping the Roman world. The stage was set for a drama that would alter the course of history, played out in the streets, forums, and battlefields of a civilization at its turning point. Born into the ancient Julian clan in 100 BCE, Julius Caesar emerged from a patrician family whose noble lineage stretched back to Rome's earliest days. Though their blood was aristocratic, their coffers were not overflowing with wealth, a circumstance that would shape young Caesar's understanding of power's precarious nature. This combination of prestigious heritage and relative financial constraint would prove instrumental in forging his unique perspective on Roman society and politics. His earliest political mentor was his uncle by marriage, Gaius Marius, a towering figure who revolutionized the Roman military system. Marius was a new kind of Roman leader, a populist general who rose from modest origins to challenge the established aristocracy. He reformed the army by opening its ranks to landless citizens, creating a professional fighting force loyal to their commander rather than the state. Through Marius, young Caesar learned crucial lessons about the power of military reform and the importance of maintaining the common soldier's loyalty. The influence of strong women in Caesar's early life cannot be understated. His mother, Aurelia Cotta, came from a powerful plebeian family and shaped his education and political acumen. His first wife, Cornelia, connected him to the populist faction through her father, Cinna. When the dictator Sulla ordered Caesar to divorce Cornelia, his refusal demonstrated early on the strength of character that would mark his entire career. Caesar's formative military experiences began in Asia Minor, where he earned the civic crown, Rome's second highest military decoration, for saving the lives of fellow citizens in battle. These early campaigns taught him not just military strategy, but the art of building loyalty among his troops and forging crucial alliances with local powers. His time in the East exposed him to different cultures and governance styles, broadening his political vision beyond the traditional Roman perspective. In the political arena, Caesar proved himself a master of building strategic relationships. His alliance with Crassus, Rome's wealthiest man, provided crucial financial backing for his political ambitions. His connection with Pompey the Great, Rome's most successful general at the time, added military prestige to his growing political coalition. These relationships would eventually culminate in the First Triumvirate, a political alliance that would transform Roman politics. But Caesar was not just a collector of powerful friends. He was also a keen judge of enemies. He learned to navigate the treacherous waters of Roman politics, where figures like Cato the Younger, his ideological opponent, and Cicero, the brilliant orator, could either be valuable allies or dangerous adversaries. Each relationship was carefully cultivated or managed, each potential friend or foe evaluated for their utility in his broader strategic vision. His early career was marked by calculated risks and bold moves. As a young politician, he borrowed heavily to finance elaborate public games and building projects, understanding that popularity with the masses could translate into political power. His prosecution of corrupt governors and his championing of popular causes earned him support among the common people, while alerting the conservative nobility to his dangerous potential. The relationships he forged during these early years would prove crucial to his later success. His ability to inspire loyalty among his soldiers, his skill in manipulating the complex web of Roman patronage, and his talent for turning potential enemies into allies all stemmed from these formative experiences. Even his famous affair with Cleopatra, years later, would demonstrate his understanding that personal relationships could be powerful political tools. Caesar's rise was not merely the product of ambitious opportunism, but rather the result of a carefully orchestrated series of political and military maneuvers. He understood that in Rome's complex social and political landscape, survival required more than just courage or intelligence. It demanded an intimate understanding of human nature and the ability to exploit both strengths and weaknesses in others. Through these early experiences and relationships, Caesar developed the skills that would eventually enable him to fundamentally transform the Roman world. His ability to learn from mentors like Marius, to build strategic alliances, and to navigate the treacherous waters of Roman politics would serve as the foundation for his eventual rise to supreme power. In many ways, these formative years were the crucible in which the future ruler of Rome was forged. The ascent of Julius Caesar to supreme power represents one of history's most masterfully executed political and military campaigns. His rise was no accident, but rather a carefully orchestrated series of bold moves and strategic alliances that would fundamentally reshape the Roman world. The formation of the First Triumvirate in 60 BCE marked a pivotal moment in Roman history. By bringing together Pompey the Great, with his military prestige and popular support, and Marcus Licinius Crassus, with his immense wealth and political influence, Caesar created an unofficial power bloc that effectively bypassed traditional republican institutions. This alliance was a masterpiece of political engineering. Each man brought unique strengths to the partnership, while their combined influence proved nearly unstoppable in Roman politics. Caesar's subsequent conquest of Gaul stands as one of the most remarkable military campaigns in ancient history. Over 8 years, he subjugated the various Gallic tribes, extending Rome's dominion from the Mediterranean to the English Channel. But these campaigns were far more than mere military operations. They demonstrated Caesar's exceptional abilities as both a commander and a leader of men. His famous commentaries on the Gallic War reveals his genius for combining military strategy with political propaganda, as he crafted his own narrative of events for the Roman public. In the field, Caesar showed remarkable tactical flexibility and strategic vision. He adapted Roman military techniques to counter the Gauls' fighting methods, demonstrated unprecedented speed in moving his legions, and displayed an uncanny ability to turn potential disasters into triumphant victories. The Siege of Alesia in 52 BCE, where he simultaneously besieged the Gallic leader Vercingetorix while defending against a massive relief force, stands as a testament to his military genius. But perhaps more significant than his tactical prowess was Caesar's ability to inspire loyalty among his troops. He shared their hardships, learned their names, and rewarded their bravery generously. This personal connection with his legions would prove crucial in the events to come, as his soldiers' loyalty increasingly shifted from Rome itself to Caesar personally. The crossing of the Rubicon in 49 BCE marked the point of no return. When Caesar led his army across this small river, the boundary between his province and Italy proper, he violated ancient Roman law and tradition. His famous declaration, "The die is cast," acknowledged the gravity of his decision. This was not merely a military advance, but a political statement that would plunge Rome into civil war. The ensuing civil war demonstrated Caesar's political and military mastery at its height. He moved with characteristic speed, forcing Pompey and the Senate to flee Rome. His campaign against his former ally showed both military brilliance and political shrewdness. After defeating Pompey at Pharsalus in 48 BCE, Caesar's policy of clemency toward his defeated enemies proved as effective in securing his power as his military victories. Throughout these events, Caesar displayed an exceptional ability to combine military action with political messaging. His writings, speeches, and public actions were carefully calculated to present himself as the defender of Roman traditions while simultaneously overturning the very system he claimed to protect. He understood that power in Rome rested not just on military might, but on the ability to control the narrative and maintain popular support. The transformation of Rome during this period was profound. The Republic's traditional power structures, already strained by decades of internal conflicts, proved unable to contain the ambitions of men like Caesar. His actions demonstrated that personal charisma, military success, and political acumen could overcome the constraints of republican institutions. Caesar's rise to power represents a masterclass in the art of political and military leadership. He combined tactical brilliance with strategic vision, personal charisma with political calculation, and military might with clever propaganda. His ability to adapt to changing circumstances while maintaining a clear long-term strategy set him apart from his contemporaries. The consequences of his actions would reshape the Roman world. The Republic, which had stood for centuries, would never truly recover from the precedents he set. His crossing of the Rubicon marked not just his own point of no return, but that of the Roman Republic itself. The system of checks and balances that had characterized Republican government would give way to the rule of powerful individuals, a transformation that would ultimately lead to the establishment of the Roman Empire. Caesar's legacy extends far beyond his military conquests, encompassing profound cultural and social transformations that reshaped Roman society. The cultural impact of his reforms continues to influence our world today, demonstrating his understanding that true power lies not just in military might, but in reshaping the very fabric of society. As a social reformer, Caesar implemented sweeping changes that challenged the traditional Roman social order. His agrarian reforms addressed the growing crisis of landless citizens, distributing public lands to veterans and the urban poor. This not only provided stability for thousands of families, but also created a new class of landowners loyal to his vision. The political genius of these reforms lay in their dual nature. They simultaneously aided the common people, while undermining the landed aristocracy's traditional power base. His policy of extending Roman citizenship to provincial elites and conquered peoples marked a revolutionary departure from traditional Roman exclusivity. This decision reflected a broader vision of Rome, not as a city-state ruled by a privileged few, but as the center of a diverse, multicultural empire. By incorporating provincial elites into the Roman political system, Caesar created networks of loyalty that extended far beyond the city's walls. Perhaps one of his most enduring reforms was the reorganization of the Roman calendar. The Julian calendar, implemented in 45 BCE, demonstrated Caesar's understanding that controlling time itself was a form of power. This calendar, which formed the basis for our modern calendar, brought order to the chaos of the previous Roman system and symbolically placed Caesar's mark on every passing day. Caesar's cultural impact extended into the realm of literature and language. His commentaries on the Gallic War and the Civil War set new standards for Latin prose, combining military reporting with masterful propaganda. His clear, direct writing style influenced generations of authors and established Latin as the language of power and prestige throughout the empire. In the religious sphere, Caesar skillfully manipulated Roman traditions to enhance his authority. His claim to descent from Venus through the legendary Aeneas added divine legitimacy to his power. As Pontifex Maximus, Rome's highest religious office, he merged religious and political authority in unprecedented ways, setting a precedent for the divine aspects of imperial rule that would follow. His enemies viewed these cultural and social reforms with growing alarm. To conservative senators, Caesar represented not just a political threat, but an existential danger to their way of life. His reforms challenged centuries of aristocratic privilege and traditional Roman values. The Roman nobility saw in him not just an ambitious politician, but a revolutionary force threatening to overturn the social order that had sustained their power for generations. Caesar's transformation of Roman society was so profound that he became a mythical figure even in his own lifetime. Stories of his achievements, both real and embellished, spread throughout the empire. His name became synonymous with supreme authority, giving rise to the titles Kaiser and Tsar in later empires. This mythification of Caesar continued long after his death, influencing how future generations would understand the nature of power and leadership. The cultural changes Caesar initiated would outlive him and shape the empire that emerged from the Republic's ashes. His reforms created a template for imperial rule that combined military strength with social reform, religious authority with political power, and Roman tradition with revolutionary change. In many ways, the cultural and mythical elements of Caesar's legacy proved more enduring than his military conquests, continuing to influence how we think about power, leadership, and social change to this day. The Ides of March, 44 BCE, dawned like any other spring day in Rome, but by its end, the course of history would be forever altered. The events that unfolded in the Senate House that day would become one of history's most infamous assassinations, a moment that would mark the true end of the Roman Republic and the birth of an empire. Caesar arrived at the Senate meeting in the theater of Pompey that morning, reportedly having received multiple warnings about the danger awaiting him. His wife Calpurnia had experienced disturbing dreams the night before, and various omens had been reported throughout the city. The ancient sources tell us that a soothsayer named Spurina had even warned Caesar to beware the Ides of March. Yet Caesar, either through hubris or a desire to maintain his image of fearlessness, chose to attend the Senate meeting anyway. The conspiracy against Caesar had been months in the making. More than 60 senators had joined the plot, though only about half would actually participate in the assassination. The conspirators were led by Marcus Junius Brutus and Gaius Cassius Longinus, men who had once been Caesar's allies. Brutus's participation was particularly significant. Not only had Caesar pardoned him after he fought for Pompey, but their relationship was deeply personal. Though not Caesar's biological son, Brutus held a special place in Caesar's affections, making his role in the assassination all the more tragic. The plotters had carefully chosen their moment. They knew Caesar was planning to leave Rome soon for a military campaign against the Parthians, so they had to act quickly. The Senate House provided the perfect location. Caesar would be separated from his usual military protection, and the conspirators could approach him under the guise of presenting petitions. As Caesar took his seat, the conspirators surrounded him, ostensibly to present their petitions. The ancient sources describe how Tullius Cimber approached Caesar first, grabbing his toga. This was the signal for the attack to begin. As Caesar indignantly tried to pull away, Casca struck the first blow with his dagger, though it only wounded Caesar's shoulder. The scene that followed was one of unprecedented violence in the Senate House. Caesar initially fought back, even managing to wound one of his attackers with his stylus. But surrounded by multiple assailants and without his usual guards, he was quickly overwhelmed. The conspirators struck so frantically that they reportedly wounded each other in their frenzy to reach Caesar. The famous last words attributed to Caesar, "You too, Brutus?" though immortalized by Shakespeare, may be a dramatic invention. Ancient sources suggest his last words might have been in Greek, or that he might have died without speaking at all. Nevertheless, the phrase captures the profound betrayal at the heart of the assassination. The murder of a leader by men he had trusted and favored. Caesar fell at the foot of Pompey's statue, having received 23 stab wounds. The final blow, believed to have been fatal, likely came from Brutus himself, a symbolic act representing the Republic striking down what the conspirators saw as a potential tyrant. The image of Caesar's blood staining the Senate floor would become a powerful symbol of the Republic's violent death throes. The aftermath of the assassination was immediate and chaotic. The conspirators had planned the murder meticulously, but had given little thought to what would follow. They had convinced themselves that by removing Caesar, they would automatically restore the Republic to its former glory. Instead, they had created a power vacuum that would lead to another devastating civil war. The reactions of the Roman people were not what the conspirators had expected. Rather than being hailed as liberators who had saved the Republic, they found themselves facing a population that largely mourned Caesar. At his funeral, the emotional speech by Mark Antony and the reading of Caesar's will, which left generous bequests to the Roman people, sparked riots that forced many of the conspirators to flee Rome. The assassination of Julius Caesar stands as one of history's great turning points, a moment when a small group of men, acting on what they believed to be patriotic motives, changed the course of history in ways they never intended. Their daggers not only ended Caesar's life, but also dealt the final blow to the very republic they had sought to preserve. The blood spilled on the Senate floor that March Day would give birth not to a restored republic, but to an empire that would rule the known world for centuries to come. The assassination of Julius Caesar, rather than erasing his influence, paradoxically served to immortalize his legacy and cement the very changes his killers had sought to prevent. The impact of Caesar's life, death, and achievements would reshape not only Rome but the entire course of Western civilization, creating ripples that continue to influence our world today. The immediate aftermath of Caesar's death plunged Rome into another brutal civil war, but from this chaos emerged a new political order that would dominate Western civilization for centuries. His adopted heir, Octavian, who would later become Augustus, proved to be a masterful political operator who learned from both Caesar's successes and mistakes. While Caesar had wielded power openly, challenging senatorial sensibilities, Augustus would achieve even greater authority while maintaining a careful facade of republican restoration. Caesar's military innovations permanently transformed Roman warfare and administration. His reforms of the legion structure, his emphasis on speed and mobility, and his techniques for siege warfare became standard military doctrine. The professional army he helped develop, loyal to its commander rather than the state, became the template for imperial forces. His strategy of offering citizenship and incorporation into the Roman system to conquered peoples set a precedent for Roman expansion that would last centuries. The Julian calendar, one of Caesar's most practical legacies, continued to influence human timekeeping until the Gregorian reforms of 1582, and still forms the basis of our modern calendar. This reform demonstrates how Caesar's influence extended beyond mere politics into the fundamental organization of human society. Even the months of July and August bear witness to the Julian dynasty's impact, named after Julius and Augustus respectively. In governance, Caesar's centralizing tendencies and administrative reforms provided the blueprint for the Roman Empire. His policies of extending citizenship, standardizing administration, and creating a more professional bureaucracy would be expanded by Augustus and subsequent emperors. The title Caesar itself became synonymous with supreme authority, evolving into Kaiser in German and Tsar in Russian, demonstrating the enduring power of his legacy as a ruler. Caesar's literary works, particularly his commentaries, set new standards for Latin prose and military history. His clear, direct writing style influenced generations of authors and historians. These works also established a tradition of political leaders writing their own accounts of events, combining military history with political propaganda in ways that would be emulated for centuries. The economic reforms he initiated, including addressing debt crises, establishing colonies, and regularizing provincial administration, created a more integrated Roman economy. His reform of the taxation system and establishment of overseas colonies provided models that would be followed throughout the imperial period. These changes helped create the economic framework that would sustain the Roman Empire for centuries. In law and society, Caesar's reforms had lasting impact. His legislation on provincial administration, debt relief, and citizenship rights established precedents that would influence Roman law well into the imperial period. The Julian laws, particularly those concerning family and social matters, continued to influence legal systems long after his death. Perhaps most significantly, Caesar's life and death became a powerful political lesson studied by leaders throughout history. Machiavelli devoted considerable attention to Caesar in his works, and numerous political leaders from Napoleon to Mussolini have drawn inspiration, or warning, from his example. His name became synonymous with both the heights of political achievement and the dangers of unchecked ambition. The transformation of Rome from republic to empire, while not solely Caesar's work, was certainly catalyzed by his actions and cemented by his death. The Augustan settlement that followed the civil wars created a new political system that maintained republican facades while constructing a de facto monarchy. This system, built on the foundation Caesar laid, would govern the Mediterranean world for centuries. Even in modern times, Caesar's legacy continues to influence political thought and popular culture. His name remains a byword for political and military leadership, while his assassination has become the archetypal example of political betrayal. Contemporary debates about the balance between security and freedom, military power and civilian authority, and personal ambition versus public good often reference Caesar's example. The ultimate irony of Caesar's legacy is that his death accomplished what his life had begun, the final transformation of Rome from republic to empire. His assassins, in trying to prevent one man's domination of Rome, instead ensured that the republic they sought to preserve would be replaced by an empire built on Caesar's foundation. This empire, shaped by the precedents he set and ruled by his successors, would define Western civilization for centuries to come. Julius Caesar transcended the boundaries of mere mortality to become an enduring symbol of transformation, ambition, and the extraordinary power of an individual to reshape history. His life and legacy continue to captivate our imagination and challenge our understanding of power, leadership, and human nature. Through the lens of history, we see in Caesar a figure who embodied both the highest aspirations and deepest contradictions of human nature. His brilliance as a military commander was matched by his skill as a political reformer. His ruthless ambition existed alongside genuine concern for social reform. He was simultaneously a preserver of Roman traditions and their greatest transformer. Caesar's story teaches us profound lessons about the nature of power and leadership. His rise demonstrates how personal charisma, political acumen, and military genius can combine to create transformative change. Yet his dramatic fall reminds us that even the most brilliant leaders must navigate the delicate balance between innovation and tradition, personal ambition and public good. The lasting impact of Caesar's life extends far beyond the boundaries of ancient Rome. His name became synonymous with supreme authority. His military strategies continued to influence warfare for centuries, and his political innovations laid the groundwork for modern systems of governance. Even today, we find ourselves grappling with many of the same questions that defined his era. The balance between security and freedom, the role of individual ambition in public service, and the nature of legitimate political authority. Perhaps Caesar's greatest legacy lies in how he demonstrated the potential for individual action to reshape the world. He showed that one person, through force of will and character, could fundamentally alter the course of history. Yet his story also serves as a cautionary tale about the price of greatness and the often unforeseen consequences of transformative change. As we reflect on Caesar's legacy, we must acknowledge that he was neither hero nor villain, but rather a complex figure who embodied the full spectrum of human potential. His achievements inspire us, his failures warn us, and his lasting influence reminds us that the past is never truly dead. It continues to shape our present and inform our future. In closing our journey through this remarkable chapter of human history, we are reminded that the study of figures like Caesar offers more than mere historical knowledge. It provides us with insights into leadership, power, and the eternal human struggle to leave a lasting mark on the world. His story continues to resonate because it speaks to fundamental truths about ambition, power, and the complex relationship between individual greatness and the societies they seek to transform. And so we conclude our incredible journey through ancient history. If you've enjoyed this historical voyage, don't forget to leave a like, share this video with friends who share your passion for history, and comment below with your favorite part of Caesar's story. To ensure you don't miss our future explorations into the past, make sure to subscribe to the Legacy of Empires channel and turn on notifications.